Hi, this is Nancy with Quilting with Nancy and On Point TV. Thank you for joining me. In this session of our electric quilt training, we're going to talk about how to make photo patchwork quilts. And this particular video, anybody can watch. Keep in mind that these videos in this type of format normally are only available to members. So there is if you find that join button right underneath the information on the first page of my channel, you can learn all about it. And if you're at least a designer level, then you can be a part of this, learn more about Electric Quilt, learn more about how to use that program. If you're interested in doing colors, I just finished a retreat. And one of the really fun things at the retreat is I brought my Electric Quilt program, and the people were able to, they were working on their projects, and I was able to, plug in the colors so that they really could see what their quilt was going to be. So it's just one of the amazing things that Electric Quilt can do. So hello, more people. All right, we got, who just showed up? All right, there's Tamara. Hi, Tamara, all the way from the Netherlands.
Hello.
Not that you guys from the States aren't fun and exciting. It's just kind of cool to say, wow, there's people from all over the world. So, all right, so I'm going to get started. We're going to work on the photo quilt. Now, I've got to tell you, somebody asked me, sent me an email and said, Nancy, how do you use that photo patchwork? Was it you, Dana? And then I lost the pictures that you sent me because I couldn't remember who had written me. So she had sent me pictures of her dogs. So I'm going to show you how to do what we do. And I actually picked one of my cats. And so we'll do it with my cat too. So the same idea. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to go to sharing a screen. I've got like a ton of screens open, but here we go. All right. So you can see the Electric Quilt right now, and you can also see us a little bit, which I always like. I'm going to make it so I can see more of us at the same time. Make that a little bit bigger, just in case I see somebody nodding off and falling asleep or something. I can kind of wake you up. All right. So we're looking at Electric Quilt. This particular style of quilt has its own special button here. And I do recall in one of our very first sessions, I was like, well, when you go to new quilt, you can choose on horizontal, on point. And I went through all of these and I said, in this photo patchwork, and I really don't know what that's all about. And then I just moved on. Like, if I don't know about it, I just pretend it doesn't happen. Well, and then somebody will ask me a question and then I can't avoid it anymore. This is what we're going to work on. And it really is a very cool and really simple way to make a very interesting quilt. And I did go through some processes on how we will actually make that too. So starting with, go to File, open a new project. I'm not going to do that because I already have one done. And then go to New Quilt. And then go all the way over here to Photo Patchwork. Now, as always, start with whatever quilt style you're going to be making, and then go to the next tab, which is Layout. Now, here in Layout, they've got this quilt. If you look down here in the corner, it's 48 by 50. And honestly, it's another one of these things. I don't understand why the number of units horizontally says 12 and vertically says 24. Because this is not 12, this is 24, and this is 24. So I don't understand why it's numbered that way, but I know that it works. So if we work with it just like it is, I'm just going to keep it just like it is for now, and then show you how you will change it to make your quilts look much more interesting. And you'll know what I mean here in a second. Then we'll go to the next tab. And that's borders. And I just left it like it was. I figured, if later on, if I actually got one designed, I could change my borders. And we've done lots of videos on how to use all of these different cool borders in there. And then we go to design. So when you go to design on the photo patchwork to quilt, it looks a little different. This is not normally what the design tab looks like. Once we get this quilt saved, the design tab will kind of go back into its original looking. But when you click to design, you're going to go, that looks a little bit different than normal. And this is the magic right here. We are going to import a photo. So that is going to take you to any, you can go anywhere in any of the photos that you have. And I happen to have lots and lots and lots of flower photos because I work at my family nursery, and at the nursery, this is what we get. So this is one that I've already done. I also did this one, but I didn't do this one. So we're going to work with this, and I'm going to start with this one that is a larger than normal picture. So this is just the picture of the flower. And what I mean by larger than normal is if I was going to do this in this style of photo quilt, I probably wouldn't want all of this extra. And I want to bring this one up so that I can show you how you can adjust it to be what you would actually maybe want to see. Okay. So we're going to go from the import photo right on over to position and resize. And this is how you can change what you're seeing. Now you can use these tabs down here. You can fit to the inside. You can distort to fit. Did you see how it kind of jumped out to the edges? You can go to the outside to fit. You can, depending on what you load in, you can do that. But I found using the position and size and clicking on it worked out well. So I'm going to make my actual quilt a little bit smaller. And I'm going to take, once I click on that, you see these drag bars here. I'm going to make it larger than the quilt is. Oops, come here, guys. There. And what I found is, see how my cursor is dragging it all the way out here? And then I have to wait. It takes a while for it to catch. I don't know why it does that, but it's really odd. Like I move it and then it jumps and it bumps and so just play. And I don't know why it's doing that. It's jumping all. Does it because I have it maintained? One of these might be clicked. And I don't know how to undo it. Okay, let me try it again. There. All right, so that one was clicked. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so that it can see more what I'm doing. Get bigger, dude. All right, so I'm making him larger and larger and larger than this, than the screen. You can see the little guy behind it, the graph paper. The idea is for my idea anyway, is to get that flower to be a little bit more centrally located, but it's not letting me do it again. Stop that. One of these is clicked. You know what? I'm going to do it again because I don't know. I don't normally use these ones down here and they're messing me up. Oops, I want to use this one. Okay, here's my original. Now I'm at position. Going to make it a little bit smaller first. Doggone it. Try that one more time. I don't know if it's me or my computer. And it's good that you see this because this kind of thing happens all the time, doesn't it? All right, I want to make it bigger. There, he's bigger. So now I'm going to try and position him, get him more centrally located. Okay, this is really weird. It's really jumping down. Ooh, it's pretty close now. I'm going to keep it right here. So I've enlarged him and positioned him so that my flower is centrally located inside the grid. Now I'm going to go down to over to the mask. So import, position, mask. And when you do the mask, I just have been doing auto mask and it takes and cuts off all the edges. I really don't like him down there. Sorry, I've got to fix this. Reset the mask. Position. He was being cut off and I didn't want him to be cut off. There, that one looks better. Scooch him up a little bit. There. All right. Mask, auto mask, and that just cuts off all the edges. All right. So here is my original picture. I haven't changed the picture at all. And it's showing the photo. So down here at the tabs, you know how we're always playing with the different layers. We always start with 1 and then 2 gets us when custom quilts. 3 is when we're adding a stencil. With this, because we're in photo patchwork, it's got a photo tab. And that's what gives you these task buttons up here. This is showing the photo. When I click over here, it's going to show the quilt. So what it has done is it has taken the colors from the photo and turned it into solid colors of just a fabric. Well, I don't know about you, but this looks like what I see when I take my glasses off. Everything's just not very impressive. And if you go to when you're trying to do a photo, And you'd be going, all right, this photo patchwork thing, this is just for the birds because this is not very impressive. Now let me show you how to make it more impressive. We are going to backtrack. We're going to put this back on photo and we're going to backtrack to layout. The layout right now has 2-inch squares on the grid. Now, back 15 years ago, when we were making watercolor quilts, this was the norm, and watercolor quilts are kind of a whole nother thing. I will talk about how I will use the same technique for construction, but the truth is if you're doing a photo quilt, unless that quilt is ginormous, doing it with a 2-inch square is not going to get you a very interesting quilt, in my opinion. Okay, so I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to make it twice as big. So I'm just going to double this. Again, I don't know why the horizontal says 12 and the vertical says 24. And this looks square to me, but I'm going to take it and go double it up. 12 to 24 and 48 to 48. I'm sorry, 24 to 48. So now I've got much bigger. If I keep this at 2 inches, I now have a king size quilt. I don't want a king size quilt of all of these little of this flower. So now I'm going to take the squares from 2 inches down to 1 inch. Now I'm back to just about a 50-inch square quilt, and these finished square units will be 1 inch. If you want to do really detailed, and you can play with this on this, the idea of cutting 1-inch squares so they would finish 1/2 inch, that's how that lady did. There's a quilt from about 10 years ago or so. I don't even know, is it 10 years? That did the Last Supper. And it was a huge quilt. And they were 1/2 inch squares. And it was done.
Oh, wow.
So now we're going to go back to design. Now everything looks the same, except for these little grids are 1/2 the size. Now notice the difference now when I go to show quilt. Now it looks like
it looks like it.
Right? So that would be my first bit of a, like tricky little thing. Like if you just go with what the layout gives you, you may or may not be happy with it. I wasn't happy with it. So that's when I started playing with the other options, making that square a little small. Really happy with this. All right. So now here's another thing that you need to know. When you're doing this, this will bring you up many hundreds and hundreds of different shades of solid colors. Kona does not have this many shades of solid colors. So unless you are going to be, hand dyeing your own fabric and the ombres and cutting them all up, you're not going to probably be able to do this with solids, but let me show you what you do next. So here I've got this, I've done my show quilt. Now it's time to go from the photo tab to our first layer. Now you're going to see that things start looking the way that they normally do. Right? This is how the first layer normally looks. And from here, the next thing I'm going to show you to do to really help enhance this photo quilt is the randomizer tool. So if you click down here on the randomizer, this is where we can make adjustments in what's going on. Now, oftentimes we use this randomizer button in particular, where we'll make a quilt maybe of all purple and yellow. And when you use the randomizer and bring it over on top of your purple and yellow quilt, it will turn it into a lime green and blue quilt, and then a peach and something else quilt. So that's for another day. What we're going to use is the saturation. I want to saturate the colors so that they have more definition. And I just clicked on the saturation. Now I can make it jump larger increments of saturation, whatever that word would be if you multiplied it. I'm just going to keep it at 10. Bring the magic wand over here. And as I click it, watch the colors.
Oh.
And they get bolder and bolder and bolder. So I'm going to take it back 1, I think. And you can know when you've gone too far, all of a sudden some colors will get really weird and stuff. So using that saturation tool really helps you define what your photo is. Okay? Now here's another thing. Now we want to come down here and possibly map it to colors and or fabric. Before you click on these, you have to be sure that in your library, in your sketchbook, you have tons of fabric that are like this. Okay, oops, it's hiding over here. There it is. Nice. Come back. There. So I'm on two screens. So when I did this, here's some of the quilts. Let me close that a second. Pull it back up. So I want to check how many fabrics I have in this sketchbook that would match these colors. If you just go with what the amount that comes when you're doing the default setting, this will look like a black and white photo when you're done. It's just not very interesting. So you want to go into the libraries, and I'm looking here, I'm like, all right, this has lots of peaches and yellows, browns, and greens. Okay. So I'm going to go up to my library, to my fabric library, and I'm going to, underneath the EQ libraries for color, this is what it'll look like when you open it up. And not these, but these will have colors, manufacturer basics, and themes. Click on the colors. And from here, I'm going to say, all right, I've got lots of greens in this. I need to bring in a lot of green in my stash. It's almost like you're wanting to make this quilt. Well, before you make the quilt, you've got to have all the fabrics, right? Same idea here. You want to go in here and grab lots of colors. And I'm going to recommend that you pick colors that are more solid, not solids, but things like you don't want to pick this one. You don't want to pick this one that's got, these big triangles in it. You want to pick fabrics that are going to read a variety of shades in the color tones that you're looking for, and just keep adding them to your sketchbook. So I'm going to go to yellow, green. Maybe I'll grab some of these, and I've already grabbed a bunch of them. So yeah, it's going to say I've already got it. I went into the peaches, the rusts, the golds, and I pulled a lot of these. I think I already have this one. Yeah. So I've already done that. I've picked a ton of different fabrics. So right now, my sketchbook, the fabrics, I've got 328 fabrics in my sketchbook, which that might equal my stash, maybe. Yeah, I'm thinking I've got 328 colors in my stash. So you need to think about it that way. When you're looking at this picture, you need to know that you have enough fabric to make that quilt. And in this case, that's just a lot of variety of whatever colors you see in the quilt. Now, when I go to the fabric tool and the randomizer, I want it to map it to fabric. So I'm going to click on this button and then come over here to the picture. And this is where I'm short. Wherever these white squares are, that's telling me that I don't have fabrics chosen that represent what this ish represented. So I'm going to look at this. I'm going to go Control Z to undo what I did. And I'm going to go, all right, I guess I didn't have enough, maybe this olive green or whatever else. Let me see. I'm going to click it again. So there's certain ones that you might be missing. Now, you could really fine tune it. You could go, oh, I need that particular olive green, go online trying to find more olive greens. I totally cheated. So what I did, I just want to enlarge just this little section. And I'm looking here and I'm going to say, all right, if that one is that color, then I'm thinking I'm going to make this one that color. Maybe I'll make that one that color. And just kind of use, your common sense a little bit. This was this color, then if I make this one, this one, this one, and this one that color, I think that's going to be close enough to what my photo had. So using your eyedropper tool, you can look at some of the fabrics that are next to what they actually have chosen. Keeping in mind, you're never going to use all these different fabrics anyhow. And I'll show you what I mean by that, because girls, I got a big stash, but I don't think anybody has the stash that would be required for something like this. All right. So let's say I get these all filled in. All right, let's say I'm starting to ready to play it. All right, what fabrics would I need? You go to the print, to your yardage. Got to think a minute. Yeah, let's preview that. That's how many fabrics you would need.
Oh boy.
Okay? I'm not going to do that. That would be ridiculous. So, but what we will do is we will use this as a kind of a, I don't know if any of you do cross stitch, but when you do cross stitch, we're going to use this kind of as our mat to working on the quilt. So this one is 49. Yep. And I will get these all filled in. Okay. And then, right, nope, then we're going to be here. Okay. So we're going to start doing the actual process of making the quilt. So if I was going to then make the quilt, I would get myself a really, well, it's not going back to photo. Wonder why it won't go back to photo. Oh, because I was on design. There. I would first print this out. So I actually printed this out for another little thing I want to show you, but print it out with all of the those grid lines on it. So how did I do that? Delete image, because if you're here, yeah, if you're here, you can't get to the photo. I know what I did. I wanted a printout of the photo with the grid on it. So I went to my snipping tool.
Oh.
So all of your, let me see, but I think it got lost over here. It's on the back. Okay, so the snipping tool, and this is just a regular, this, what do we call it? It's not a Mac. It's whatever the kind is. It's not a Macintosh kind of one. What is it? It's a regular PC, a Windows. There it is. It's a Windows. And they all have this snipping tool, which I use this tool for so many things in pattern writing and just everything. I use this. But I just took and made a snip of this, just like that. And then I saved it. There's my snipping tool. That's what I snipped. I saved it to something. I can't remember what I saved it to. Let's call it yellow flower. So then I could actually go in and print it. Because having this as you guys can see what I snipped, right? Okay. All right. Okay, that's gonna, let's see, new share. Sorry. You know, that's the thing you guys are supposed to tell me. Nancy, you're talking to the wind. We can't see. Now can you see it?
There, now we can see
All
it.
right. So I use the snipping tool. Let me do it again. Now it's gone away. So when I do it again, let me know if you can't see it, okay? Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so new, just gonna highlight that.
Okay.
And I gotta bring it back up again. You can see it again?
Yep.
All right, then I'm gonna save it over here, and then I'm gonna save it as yellow flower. And then you can print it. If you have it saved like that, you could go to your files and it'd be like printing a photo. Because this is gonna be very helpful. When it comes time that you're actually doing your design, this is going to make a big difference as to how your design will turn out. So make that get smaller. So, but this is also going to be where you've got all of your fabrics, right? Because I'm going to trust Electric Quilt. When it comes time that I'm choosing the fabrics, I'm going to trust Electric Quilt that the shades in this flower, that whatever this orange is, and obviously I don't have this orange particular fabric, but whatever I have that I'm going to match that up with, I'm going to put it in this place, this place, this place, this place, this place. I'm going to jump over here, and wherever the fabric changes in the Electric Quilt program design, I'm going to use that as my map and as my guide for when I'm actually going to change fabrics. Now, I might look at this and go, I think that these two yellows are close enough. I don't have 369 fabrics. I don't want to cut that many 1.5 inch squares from different fabrics either. So I might use these fabrics as the same. You know, I might combine some of them if I think that they're very similar. The more fabrics you use, if you're able to get those really great shades, the better your quilt is going to look. So it's up to you as to how far off the rails you go with the decisions that you make. Okay, So that's what she's gonna look like. So now I'm gonna go here a second. Okay, oh, there it is. All right, so now can you guys see me? Can you see
No.
me big or?
No, we're saying the Caribbean.
Oh, that would be awesome. Actually, I think that's like,
That's beautiful.
it must not be that one then. Which one is it?
Oh, no, it's something.
That's,
It's
It's a
pretty.
body of water.
How
That's
about
all.
Yeah,
that?
there it is.
There we
It's a
go.
body of
That actually is a picture of
The
Lake
water.
Michigan. That's my screensaver. So
Oh,
that's in Petoskey somewhere. So this is the process. And I don't know if you guys can make it so that, I mean, not that I want to be big on your screen, but I'm going to show you some papers and stuff that you might want to be able to see. So if you look like right now, I'm looking and everybody is this big. If you can make it so I'm just the one big person,
Yep.
the big head on your screen, this is gonna do better for you. So this is one that I printed out, all right? And these are the fabric choices. The one that I did with the photo, it was a different one altogether for something else I want to show you. Like this is how it looks like when you print
Oh, okay.
the photo, and then you'll see those little grid lines. Okay? So I'm starting to make the quilt. And I actually I would not make the quilt as one big, huge quilt. You're going to make the quilt in sections. It is going to make the technique used so much easier. Back when we were doing watercolor quilts, doing the ones that we would make like a flower box by a window, if it were this big, oh, that was easy. But I once did one that was like 35 by 60, and it was a big scene of a woods. Oh my gosh, it was such a pain. And if I knew then what I knew now, I wouldn't have done it that way. So I'm going to do it in sections. So this is going to be like the idea of a quadrant of the flower that I designed. And this is showing the fabrics that are there. This also is showing I've worked on, this is the section, gotta make sure that I'm actually going to show you that I've worked on. And when I'm working on it, I'm going to take, all right, I have laid this particular fabric down and I'm going to cross off that square in my chart. Just like if you're doing cross stitch, if you've ever done that, or knitters, I think do that too, just
I
kind
do.
of highlight what you've already done. Okay?
Yep.
What you're going to do is you're going to take fusible interfacing. Now most quilt shops have it, and I didn't even look on Amazon, I probably should have. Do a search for gridded interfacing. Now, the difficulty is most gridded interfacing that you're going to find will be a 2-inch square. If you want to do it with 2-inch squares, and you can put that in your layout, so then you would end up with 1.5-inch finish. That would be up to you. Play with your design. That maybe yours will work out great with that. I ended up choosing a 1-inch finish. So I just chose a fusible interfacing with the bumpy side up, and I drew 1.5-inch squares all over it. So I drew, you can't see it. It's not, I did it with pencil.
I can see it.
I can see it.
Oh, good. Cool. Because I can't see it. I've got my little picture. So I drew the 1.5-inch grid all over my interfacing, and then I just started playing with the fabrics, referencing back to what my printout had and what EQ told me
Okay.
I needed for the changes of fabrics. Now, one little tip here too, even if you're doing the 2-inch size, if you're doing the 2-inch grid, cut your fabric squares 1 7/8 inches. Cutting your fabric squares a little bit smaller is going to make the construction process a lot easier, right? And they don't all have to be like the perfect either. If they're off a little bit, it's surprising. You also want to be finding fabrics like these green ones here. This whole line, whoops, wait a minute, I lost you. There they are. Those green ones from here on up are all from the same fabric. So you can see what a variety I can get. So that way I don't have to have 368 fabrics. I maybe can get away with 150 or something. Hand-dyed fabrics, batik fabrics, that kind of stuff. That, find those fabrics with a lot of variety. Like if I were making this flower, I'd want to find some batiks and things that had peaches and greens and yellows all over them. So then I could cut a bunch of squares, and maybe from one fabric, I can make the 15 different fabric choices. Okay, so you get this like this. Then after you get them all on, I don't think I have more. So like, let's look at this little area here. Then you're going to fold it right there on that line and sew your 1/4 inch seam allowance.
Ah.
And you fold and sew and fold and sew and fold and sew. So then all of these seams are sewn all at once. And then you nip those little intersections. So this is, oh, I should have left one of these unsewed, duh. So, so this is the back of it. All right. And so you're going to, after, like, these are the first ones that I sewed. No. These are the first ones that I sewed. After I sewed this particular line, then you just make like a little nip that's a little bigger than the 1/4 inch. You nip it in and you nip it past your stitching line. So your stitching line's going all the way across. You clip it past the stitching line. So not all the way, just maybe, 2 threads past your stitching line or something. And then you alternate your seams and then putting the row together this way, where I've got these are going up, these are going down, and pressing it. And so then this is what you get.
Oh, wow.
So this is, I think that's actually the top.
Yeah.
It's like, this is kind of the top. These are the greens here, and this is part of the flower, and it's going down into the center here. It's really fun to make. But don't try making the whole 40-inch square quilt all at once. Divide it up so that when you're doing that, and because if I sew another square to this, you're never going to know where that intersection was. It's not like wherever you put that seam where you put the blocks together, you're going to see it. You're not going to see it. It's going to be exactly the same. It'll have the same interfacing on it. The seams are a little bit bulky. When you're sewing this, when you're actually quilting it, that's when you really get to add a lot of definition into it. You can be going back and forth, thread painting on these, adding a ton of fabric to it, especially because this is going to be really stable. If you try doing thread paint, let's say that you just get a panel of a flower and you try doing a ton of thread painting on it, if you don't have it really stable, the thread painting will shrink your quilt up. This has all the interfacing. It's super stable. So you can do a lot of thread painting on this, and that's really what gets you a lot of definition. Always referring back to your photograph and your fabric choices. Has anybody ever done one of those before? Yeah. See, Jennifer, you've done a little bit of everything though, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done a little one.
Yeah. I
With
think
my mum.
Jennifer will make it with the 1-inch square.
Yeah, of course you will. Yeah. And they'll come down to 1/2 inch. Yeah, she'll cut 1/2 inches and they'll come down to 1/4 inches.
So it
Those
is
would be
a
amazing.
really cool thing. And I like the program, but I do think, it does need that tweaking that you do to it, the saturation, making smaller squares, that kind of stuff, right? So I'm going to go back to the screen a second. I think this is
that gridded, you're right about buying that
Were you able to
gridded
find it?
interface. Well, yeah, at the quilt shop. It was by the Seven Sisters brand. So I bought that. And but I like the idea of drawing my own grid lines and doing things in smaller units. I had not tried that.
Yeah,
part, but I have done several of those.
I'm going to show you something else that you can do on Electric Quilt if you really don't want to do it this way and you want to piece them. The other thing is when you are purchasing the fusible interfacing, you don't want the super, super, super cheap stuff. You don't want a woven fusible, just the, the non-woven. The woven would make it a little bit too thick. But if you get the super cheap stuff, first of all, it's really hard to draw on it because you'll be ripping it left and right. But you want it to have enough stability to really hold your fabrics. Oh, and when you're putting the fabrics down on here, I remember back in the day, we used to take our little Clover iron and we would just iron them onto the fusible. Yeah, today I started working on it. I just got my Roxanne's glue and I just put a dot. This is held down with just a dot of glue. Dot squared on, and that held everything together. And of course, that
it does.
So
yeah, that's what I did.
my tips for you on making it, I don't have a video on doing these one like this. It would be-
And I like the tip of cutting your square smaller,
Yeah,
because if you cut it exactly the size,
it
it'll
overlap.
be too tight in the seam allowance.
Yep,
So
and
that's
you know, even though I made mine smaller, it's still, there were times that it kind of overlaps and it gets kind of bulky. So if you just make them a little bit smaller, that makes a big difference. Yeah.
I'm gonna
All right,
try that one.
So I'm gonna go back to EQ now.
So Nancy, when you're doing this as a quilt, you're gonna put the batting and your backing on it and then just quilt it as normal.
Right. Yep, I would have it all done the top. I'd put the border on like normal, and then I would quilt it all as normal. Now it is, you know, one of the things that I always liked about it, when I did my big one, I actually had a long arm at the time, so I didn't have to deal with the bulk of it. I don't know what that would have been like to quilt that on a domestic machine, but 40 inches square, I could do this. But I like that it is a little bit stiff. And when that's one of the reasons that I do so much spray sizing on my fabrics in the process of making them, because then the quilt is stiffer when I'm actually doing the quilting, because I am quilting on a domestic, although it is a 16-inch, I'm quilting on a table. Because when you quilt this, it's gonna stay in place. You're gonna be moving it and it's gonna stay really, really flat for you.
Would you, hey, you and Jennifer, would you quilt it densely or not?
I would quilt it quite densely.
Well, if it's a wall hanging, I would quilt it densely.
Yeah,
But
can't
I would
imagine
also
making
treat
one
it
like
like
that
a
as
t-shirt
a-
quilt.
I don't know that I would make one of these as a bed quilt. You could,
Yeah.
but you know, if you're gonna make it 90 inches square, that's scary. But I would probably quilt it quite densely, and the seams are thick too. So you've got to be, you know, your machine, you're gonna be using a really sharp, you know, I'd probably use on a regular domestic machine, I'd be probably using a 90 top stitch needle, so that it was really nice and thick, and I might use heavy threads too.
Would you agree that the density is about like a t-shirt quilt?
In terms of the thickness, yes.
Or you think the t-shirt quilt is?
T-shirts maybe
It's
gonna be more, depending on, because
Well, parts of it,
yeah,
yeah.
look at all these seams on here.
Mhm.
That's a lot of
But-
seams. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun though. It would really be very cool. All right, so now I'm gonna go, any questions before I go back to EQ?
No, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So you can now see the quilt, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
So a couple of other things for you to think about. When you're choosing to do, I'm gonna go back to new quilt now, back to Photo Patchwork. And then when I go to layout, this is done. Okay. When did we learn what a square was and what a rectangle was? 8th grade, 7th grade?
Mhm.
Yeah. Don't those look like squares to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rectangle. I wish I could figure out why this is this way, this 12 and 24, but this says that this is a rectangle. This is not a rectangle, in case you were wondering. That is a square, but there's not square options, but you can do this like with this size
Oh.
of a quilt. So now we take this, let go of the width of it, go 24. This would be scary bad to make, but let's pretend that we wanted to be scary bad. All right, this is what you would be dealing with. All right, so I'm not exactly sure why they give you, you know, although I could almost see just considering doing a, where is it? One of these is not that one. Diamond, no, that one. So that could be a consideration if you wanted to do English paper piecing. That's not a rectangle. They call it a rectangle. I thought there was one that was actually a hexi. There he is, hexagon. Yep. So if you were into English paper piecing, you know, this could be a thought. Doing this, Larissa's like, yeah, what are you crazy? So, you know, you can choose the other one. The default is the square, but that is one of the options. All right. So let's try something new. And this goes back to Dana's original question. She sent me a picture of her dog and I lost it. So I'm going to go to new photo quilt. I don't want to save this one. It's going to take me back to the little squares. Then I'm going to go to layout, and I already know I want to double these and shrink this. because I tried this already and the big squares just don't work really well, right?
Well, that quilt is 90 some inches.
Yeah, if it were 2 inches square with the 48 across, that's how many inches it is. Now I'm going back to 7th grade math a lot today. I'm going to import a new picture. And I grab one of there's my RC cat. He's so cute. All right, so I'm going to change the size of them. Let's see what happens if nope, I don't want that. I don't know why it's doing it so long on the sides. Let's get this. So he'll be nice and big. Just so you know, he is a large cat. He is a 22, maybe 23-pound cat.
He has blue eyes?
Yeah, he's got blue eyes. He's just the most gorgeous thing ever. He's actually a very amiable cat. He's a good cat. Now I'm going to do the mask just like before, and I'm going to auto mask. So there we go. So there's my kitty RC. Now I'm going to do the same kinds of things. Here's the photo. Here's the quilt. That's not bad. But if I go to layer 1, use the randomizer and do the saturation of color. And now granted, he's a white cat. So, I kind of got myself in a pickle with that. So look at when I start doing this, how his ears start to get more defined, his nose starts to get more defined. Now this, this would be a lot of white fabric because he's mostly white, but now I'm going to I don't know if I have enough fabrics chosen. So this will be that test. I don't know that I have enough in my library for this. So I'm going to now map it to fabric. Yeah, not so much. All right. If I'm going to do this kitty cat quilt, I've got to get some more pinks, some of the, pink hues. And once you do that too, it almost kind of changes everything. So I might want to go back, but I'm going to want to get more pink hues and some more pretty eye color hues and some more grays and stuff like that so that it can really give him more definition. So really, shopping for fabric, it all comes back to shopping for fabric, and we all love doing that, right? So there you go. That's how you use the photo patchwork feature on Electric Quilt. There really is lots of options. It's just a matter of how detailed you want to go, or maybe it's I'm not sure how I cannot imagine one of these being done on a 96-inch quilt. That just doesn't sound like the fun factor that I think that quilting should have. So any questions?
I feel like I have to apologize for sending sending in that idea. I had no concept as to how that actually would all come together.
Which actually, Dana, that leads me to another thing. So maybe I'm not done teaching. Let me show you another idea. Right? Because, all right, are you guys seeing the kitty cat?
Yep.
Okay.
No.
There's another way to do a picture quilt.
Okay,
If you
now.
go to new quilt, just go to horizontal. No, I don't. Actually, I'm gonna go to block. I'm gonna go to block. I'm gonna go to new block, and I'm gonna go applique. Make a block that's applique. Okay. I'm gonna maybe not make it as huge as this. Let's make it a 20-inch block. All right. So that means I'm gonna make my snaps be, or my grid be, maybe double the size. That would be fine. There's my graph paper. And for this, I want the full snap the nodes. Where's it saying that? I gotta shift over it. Nope, I don't want the nodes to snap to when I'm doing the drawing. I don't want them to jump to the points. And this one either. Yep, turn that one off. And then we're going to use this little guy here. Okay, so we're going to go to tracing image, and tracing image is going to give you the ability to import your photo. Okay. So I'm going to go find RC. That stands for Ryder Cup. I went and I adopted 2 cats while Bill was off on a golfing tour thing, and so I called them Mulligan and Ryder Cup so that he would love them because they were golfing terms. And RC is for short. So gonna do that same thing with the sizing it. So this is all very, very similar to what we've just done. That looks like RC all round. He'd be a great cat, but he's a little big. He can't quite clean his bottom as he should. So anyways, TMI, TMI. All right, we're just gonna crop that now down to, where is it? Is that doing it? Crop?
Yes, I can see
I
the line.
Yeah, it's weird. I couldn't even see the line. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll do the crop from here. I can't see the line. I can see the X. Apply crop. No, reset. Position. I'm going to center them up. Crop. All right, normally I can see a line telling me it's almost like snipping, but it's not doing it. So I honestly am not sure why. So I'm just going to go back to this and I'm going to say center the, no, I don't want to center the image. Undo that. Sorry. Let's bring it back here. Let's make them bigger the other way. Bring these guys out. Got to get over to the other side. I'm not sure why this photo is like has this way out here either. So let's center that back up. Okay, now we have a huge guy. Okay, we're gonna do that. There. So there he is. Okay, I'm gonna apply that. I don't know why it's doing that. Inside. Let's just leave it like that. We'll just leave it like that. You'll get the idea. All right. So this is the image that I'm dealing with. Now I'm going to come back to my drawing tools. My image is still there. All right. Now I can make the image go away by clicking this little pine tree over here. And this is how you're going to kind of test to see if what you're working on is actually working. So I'm going to use my enlarging tool over here so I can just see a bigger him. And I'm going to start drawing. So when you're drawing, these are the straight lines, these are the arches, and this is the freehand drawing. So if I want to do an applique of RC, this is how I would do it, with drawing these, making one complete circle so that getting them to shut is the most difficult part. And I think it's this one that tells you that it will actually put those little nodes together. Because when you go to color, there he is. There's his blue eye. Now keep in mind, oh, see, it's not closed. If you know it's not closed, if it paints. Now I go back to draw, enlarge it more, and see how it's not closed here. Click on that. I think the other kind is easier. Come on, click, click, there. All right. So I've got to get these two little nodes to actually connect so that it'll color. Which one of the tabs is it? All right, it's one of these. Is this the one that join segments when drawing? Okay, let me try again. Let me draw a circle and see if it, no, it didn't do that one. I didn't come close enough. So I'm going to try and get as close as I can to the end. And this time it closed it because I had that other one. And then sometimes it doesn't work. Draw. If you've ever tried doing one of these, you understand the frustration. Yeah. So I like the other one better. And we've done this before. We did a lot of this with when we did that one really cool corner quilt. So if you're a member, you can actually check into that. Okay, so let me try this again. Draw. I'm going to freehand draw. This one says auto join segments when drawing. That means that I should be able to go around his eye, come back to the end, and it's going to try and catch it. And the only way I know how to check, and I can tell already that it has, is if you click on it, if it colors everything, that means you didn't quite close it. It's not that one. And so then you spend time going in here and really blowing this up. See how they're not connected?
Yeah.
edit it. Try and click right on that line. Come here, little guy. Click, 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 click. There. And try and get them to go right over top of another. That looks really good to me. What do we think? I did it. I did it. Ah! So I now have RC's eyes drawn. And after you do, you do all the different sections of them and stuff, and they do have a decent video on EQ's website, a free one, where they kind of do this. And once you've done that, then you can edit it and you can change the shape of things. And we've done this before. So those of you that have been with me for a while, you've already seen how we play with these. If you're a member now, and you obviously are, you can go back and check out the video where we did that. And it's a really cool quilt that has scroll. Uh-oh, you know what I'm doing? I'm talking with my hands and you guys can't see me at all. It's a really cool quilt that has a circle in the middle and it has these really cool scrolls. That's what the main picture is. So if you're looking for more information on how to make this happen, check out that video. I can't remember what number it is. Okay. All right. So those are a couple of different ways. So Dana, what you gonna do?
She
Not the
decided
way
to
now.
scrap the whole idea after she watched you.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll happen once I'm finished painting the house. We'll try one of the dogs.
Okay.
Go from
First
there.
things first. Yeah.
I see that being in my retirement future when I have plenty
go.
of time.
I love the way the flowers work. I mean, doing it, RC's face, that would have been kind of cute, but flowers, that just gives you more freedom as to how you're going to color it and stuff. So I just thought that was a cool idea. All right. Any questions? We already have an idea for next time. Chris is not on with us today, but Chris sent me one yesterday wondering if I could do it today. And I said, no, I've already figured this one out. But she wants to learn how to take a photo and turn it into a paper piece pattern. We're going to do that
cool.
next time.
Yep, that'd be good.
So I'll try and come up with some simplified ones and then some more advanced ones and see what you guys think of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? You can hear me.
Yeah.
So for the next session, you think you could share the photos with us so we could kind of try to do it with you?
What do you mean by the photos? Oh,
Like
you mean
photos
ahead
you-
of time?
Yeah.
Yes.
If
Yes.
you send it to us, then we can, because I kind of learn better if I'm kind of doing it or at least trying.
Okay, I see what Larissa's saying. Nancy, if you had sent us those pictures of the flowers, then you could have played around with that. And I could send you the pictures of the flowers when I sent, because at this point, tomorrow morning, I'll try, no, not tomorrow morning, it'll have to be tomorrow afternoon, because I got to get to the greenhouse early tomorrow morning. I'll take this video and I usually send it out to you again, so then you have the link, although it's always available on the YouTube channel. But when I do that email, I'll send you pictures of the original flowers. And oftentimes, if I'm working on a quilt and you're going, okay, Nancy did all the work and I don't want to reinvent the wheel. Nancy, would you just share with me that Electric Quilt file? I'm happy to do that. Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'll send you any of the files you want. You've been here, you learned it. It's close enough for me. It's not cheating because you're not getting graded. So it's okay.
So what size did you say to cut instead of a 2-inch square, what size?
On the one that we did, it's a 1-inch finish. So basic quilting construction would tell you to cut a 1.5-inch square to have a 1-inch finish. But for these, I recommend that you cut them an 1/8 smaller. So I would cut these 1 3/8 inches if you're making it this size. And if you're doing the 2-inch grid, cut them 1 7/8 inches. And it'll make it a lot easier to get those seams to work together and not be folding over each other.
Okay.
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 Anything else?
Nancy, I don't know if this is Medi. I don't know if you remember the block I sent you, but thanks for responding.
Well, I thought it was a really cool looking block.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm working on for a class.
Yeah. Anytime you guys have any questions or anything, I'm here, right?
Yes.
Cool.
All right,
Thank
so next session will be on a Wednesday night again because I'm still at the greenhouse and greenhouse is open till 6, so I don't get in the house until 7. We're going to be May 24th, so the Wednesday before
My
Memorial
birthday.
Day weekend. Okay, May 24th, 6 o'clock Michigan time.
Sounds good.
All righty, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe I won't be there at the 24th, but
all right,
I'll try.
you'll try. You look tired.
Yeah, it is because it's now 1 o'clock in the night,
Oh, my.
and in that week I'm gonna do yeah, we call it in Holland the avondvierdaagse. It's translating the evening 4 days. So we're gonna walk 4 days in a row, like 5 kilometers per night or per
Okay.
evening. So then I'll be home 9 o'clock. I think I won't be awake at 12 o'clock. So,
Yeah, and it's morning where you are, right, Jenny? What time is it?
Yeah, it's almost 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Almost 9 a.m. Yeah.
6 o'clock. Well,
But the day after,
what
so nothing happened overnight. You don't have to worry about
okay,
it.
good. Because the last time you said that, I don't know if it worked out quite right. Something happened that
Okay,
day.
something happened. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah, well,
remember
I
that,
don't think
Jenny.
anything happened. Nothing happened. No, nothing. It's all good. It's raining, it's all good.
Yeah,
It's all good.
normal stuff. All right, thank
Yeah,
you
normal
guys.
stuff.
I'll talk to you
Bye.
later.
bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
later.
There you
Bye.
go.